And welcome back to the First and Goal podcast. My name is Lewis, and as always, next to me is my beautiful co-host, Laraib, as we're super excited to hop into week 10 of the NFL season, officially past the halfway mark of the NFL season, and very, very special episode because we have two very special guests. In my bottom left corner, I have Mr. Nathan Gunn joining us from Annapolis, Maryland right now. Thank you, Nathan, for coming on the podcast. And below me in the bottom right corner is my cousin, dear friend, Mr. Andrew
what's
Ward.
good, guys?
All right. And we are super excited. Big NFL fans. They've been asking to come on the podcast. We are finally delivering for these guys. Andrew, as some of y'all know, has already made an appearance on the podcast. We'll be linking that episode down below because it was a very fun time. Laraib, anything you want to say to these guys, or y'all want to say anything before we hop into this?
Well, of course, you had to bring in Andrew Ward as your Saints backup. And of course, I had to bring in Nathan Gunn as my Seattle manpower. So a nice mix up of opinions here. So Nathan Gunn and Andrew Ward, you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick before we get into it?
No. All right, let's go.
Well, I'll introduce myself. My name's Nate Gunn, and this is my first time on the podcast, and I'm excited to share my expertise on ball. Well, let's go.
Right. Appreciate it. Andrew, anything you want to say before you just want to hop right in?
I'm just going to say I'm no longer a Vikings fan because they dropped Adam Thielen. So just putting that out there.
All right. Well, speaking of, let's go ahead and hop right into the games for the week. Week 10, not a lot of great games this week. If you have a loved one, maybe this is the week that you take them out, go hang out with them. But if you're football aficionados like the four of us, you'll be glued into every game. Starting with the New Orleans Saints traveling to Minnesota. New Orleans favored by 3 in this matchup on the road. I'll start with the background on this one. Minnesota, last week down by a lot to the Falcons, and then Josh Dobbs comes in, and without even a week of preparation under his belt, completely new offense, playing in Arizona the first 8 games of the season, comes in and beats the Falcons in a huge spot for the Vikings, who are still hanging on to their playoff hopes despite losing Kirk Cousins. So now you have a home game against another 5-4 team in the Saints. Saints favored by 3. Andrew, I'll start with you on this one. What have you seen what can you say about this Vikings offense that'll be different with Josh Dobbs as the quarterback?
Well, obviously they don't have Kirk Cousins. They're not going to have Justin Jefferson. But what I can say is I'm terrified as a Saints fan because I feel like this is a game that's going to be really tough, but I think the Saints are going to pull it out maybe within 4 points.
All right, and then
the Saints to cover in this one, Andrew.
Yeah, so I got the Saints to cover. But
see, I highly disagree.
Huh?
I highly disagree.
Okay.
Now,
I disagree too.
As a Saints fan, or not a Saints fan, as someone who's supported the Saints in a couple games this season where I shouldn't have, I feel like in this game against the Vikings defense, which we talked about, this team is number 7 so far in the NFC standings, right there in the thick of things. And like you mentioned, it's been that defense, which has, been playing sneaky well with a lot of young guys over there. And of course, the resurgence of Daniel Hunter, like we talked about. I think they are now at home in a big spot against a team in the Saints who struggle offensively, who can't generate any pressure on the quarterback. I think Josh Dobbs goes out there with a full week of practice in this one. He gets it done at home against a Saints team, which we know can struggle on the road.
All right.
Yeah, I have to agree with Laraib there. On the Saints, pretty iffy when it comes to offense. I don't know if I really trust Derek Carr. For the Saints in the red zone and on third down offense, it's been pretty terrible this year. So going and playing in Minnesota where it's really cold, I don't think they get it done.
Indoor stadium, Nathan.
Well, it's still going to be cold up there, but
sure.
they got the Saints haven't had a lot of luck in Minnesota. I mean, I can think back to the Minnesota Miracle. So,
oh my God.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Bring that up.
I think the Vikings and Josh Dobbs, he's going to prove himself this game, and he's going to win a big one for the Vikings.
I've been pessimistic about this Saints team all season long, and I'm not going to let a game against the Chicago Bears in which you have 5 turnovers and still only win by 7 points at home sway me from liking the Vikings in this matchup. What I'll say is this Vikings defense has been very impressive. And I mentioned in our last episode what Brian Flores has done for this Vikings defense, really shaping them up for the dumpster fire they were last year. Ivan Pace, the rookie out of Cincinnati, has really impressed me at the linebacker spot. And just overall, that defense, the packages that they're put in, they're going to be able to blitz Derek Carr, get after him, get him out of his spot. So it's really going to rely on the Saints running game, which has not been that strong all season long. In Minnesota, I really like the Vikings with the points. I think it's going to be a close game. So I'm going to pick Minnesota. I know I'm not really going out on a limb here because 3 of the 4 of our panel have gone with that. But I think Minnesota gets it done at home. I'm going Minnesota 24-21. Laraib?
I'm also going to go with the Vikings, Lewis. I think Josh Dobbs, even when they're missing Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the NFL, they've shown that they can have guys like KJ Osborne step up. Jordan Addison, the rookie, he can step up. And of course, my guy, Alexander Madison, is always reared up to go over there. And so I like the Vikings 26-24 as the Saints cover, but come up short.
All right. Well, good insight there. Let's move on to our next game of the noon slate. We have the Houston Texans traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. Bengals have won 3 games in a row and are favored by 6.5 on the road. However, one CJ Stroud last week had an incredible performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the woe-begotten Buccaneers, as CJ Stroud threw for over 470 yards and 5 touchdowns, and especially that game-winning drive to ice the game. Andrew, I'll start with you as a fellow Nico Collins enthusiast. What have you seen so far from CJ Stroud as a rookie that you could say, hey, he could go into a place like Cincinnati and maybe pull out a W?
Well, I think he's obviously the rookie of the year. I don't think there's anybody going to argue with that one. But the thing is, Nico Collins didn't practice today. So I'm kind of scared about that. And they also don't have Dameon Pierce, so they're going to have to be relying on Devin Singletary. Is that his name?
Yeah.
So they're going to have to rely on him. And the Bengals have been on a roll lately, so I'm going to take the Bengals by what is the line?
6.5.
It's 6.5.
I'm probably going to take them by 10.
All right, Nate.
Yeah, I got to go with Andrew on this one. Bengals at home. Joe Burrow, he's coming back, right? Or he's been back.
He's
been back for the entire
I don't think
season.
he's actually missed a game. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, I just see him pulling off with this one, and I'm with Andrew. Like maybe even more than 10 points. Like he's just gonna go off this game. I got a feeling.
Laraib?
Yeah, and I also have to agree with you guys. The Texans, I feel like this line is especially a little low after their performance from last week, but giving up over 30 points to the Bake Show at home. Now, just imagine what Joe Burrow and this red-hot Bengals team is going to do. We've seen them, T. Higgins is going to be out for this game, but we know they just have playmakers all across the board in that wide receiver room. So even without T. Higgins out there, I think this Texans defense, they've had their spots all season long, but in this one on the road against the Bengals, I think is just too tall of a task. I like the Bengals 27-17.
And I think we have our first unanimous panel that we probably will have all episode, but I mean, the Texans team has been a different team on the road all season long, and this rushing attack for the Texans, and that's what you need late in the season, is a good rushing attack offensively to win games in November and December in the NFL. Only 50 rushing yards against the Buccaneers last week. They still found a way to win, so credit them. But on the road against this Bengals defense, it's going to be a tough task. I'm going Cincy 31 to Texans 17. All right, but let's move ahead to another very exciting matchup, arguably one of the best games of the entire slate. We have the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Jacksonville to face Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. San Francisco is favored on the road by 3 points despite dropping 3 games in a row. So, Laraib, I'll start with you. Coming off the bye week, maybe tinkering some things, figuring some things out. I don't know. You might know. I don't know if Deebo Samuel will be playing in this game.
Oh, he's back.
He's set to return.
He's back.
For this game.
Okay.
19.
So, so Laraib, what do you expect? Do you expect a revitalized San Francisco offense in Jacksonville?
Most definitely, Lewis, but I think I'm siding with the home team in this one, if I'm being quite frank. Now, we've seen Brock Purdy play very well in the first couple, set of games throughout his career, but the past 3 weeks, he's really struggled, Lewis. And now come both these teams off a bye week. He just has to prove it to me again before I can pick this 49ers team. And, it was really surprising to see how this offense stumbled, but the biggest thing was really this defense, Lewis. They didn't miss anybody from there, but they got blown up by the Vikings, they got blown up by the Bengals, and now they're going on the road to Jacksonville, which we know Trevor Lawrence is starting to emerge as a top guy over there. And I really like the Jaguars in this one at home. For this 49ers team, they have to prove it to me that if they're gonna win games like this, just go out and win this one against a Jaguars team, which we know can be exposed in the secondary. And for the Jaguars, this is going to be a big game for them. If they really want to, cement themselves as a top team in the AFC, it's going to be in big games like this one against, Super Bowl favorites in the 49ers. And so I like the Jags at home, though.
All right. Well, I want to ask Andrew, because you were making some faces at some of Laraib's statements right there. You seem to disagree. What are you expecting from the San Francisco 49ers offense in this one, and why shouldn't they be able to get on top in this game?
Oh, no, I think it's going to be a slaughter. I think the 49ers are going to beat him by 30. Deebo Samuel is coming back. He's going to have over 200 plus total yards, and he's going to have 3 touchdowns. It's going to be
your best bet of the week, Andrew.
Wait, what's up?
Is that your best bet of the week?
No, I got another one for that,
Okay.
but yeah, but that's what I guarantee. Brock Purdy's gonna bless us with a performance on Sunday.
Nathan, what do you think?
I gotta disagree with Andrew on this one. I don't think he's taken a look at this Jaguars defense that's been putting up some pretty good numbers. Josh Allen has 9 total sacks this season, along with 28 tackles through 8 games, and Rashawn Jenkins with 47 tackles.
Did you get that off Google?
No, I've memorized this. I've been watching all their games. Anyways, both these teams are stacked offensively, so I think it's going to be a shootout. But I think the Jags at home are going to take this one. The 49ers, even off the bye week, they're just not going to have it together. So Jags in this one.
Yeah, the concerning thing for me in this game is the 49ers pass defense, which has been, as Laraib was saying, has been exposed in the past few weeks by really good shotgun passing quarterbacks, and that does not change here. So out of the bye week, what does EJ Evero have in store for Trevor Lawrence? Because we've seen them, against Joe Burrow, and then against Kirk Cousins, just guys who can sit back there, stay calm, stay focused, and dot you up from the pocket. How will they get that pressure? Well, the big, answer that we saw from the 49ers was Chase Young. They traded for Chase Young. We'll see his impact in this game. And I actually think the 49ers defense will have a huge showing coming off the bye week. Chase Young will have a remarkable debut. Nick Bosa, I think he needed a bye week to kind of get himself reset after a slow start to the season. I like the 49ers in this spot. They come back with a strong win on the road. I like the 49ers in this one. 27-20 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next game of the slate. We have the Cleveland Browns traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Nathan, will you be at this game?
I will not.
Okay.
Not a big Ravens fan.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Not exactly a fun place to hang out. So The Ravens favored by 6.5 points on the road. They have been looking dominant the past few weeks of football. Nathan, I'll actually start with you on this one. What do you expect? We saw Deshaun Watson come back last week. He looked fine against the Cardinals, but it was really that defense that had its mark. What does Deshaun Watson have to do for the Browns to be able to win this game at Baltimore?
I mean, he's going to have to really step up. You saw the Ravens last week hold the Seahawks to 3 points. So this is a serious team they're going up against. And if they want to have a chance, he's going to have to play lights out. As for the Ravens, like I said, great team. I'm going to have to go with the Ravens on this one. They're just playing elite football right now. I think they're just going to take this game away like they did last week against the Seahawks.
Yeah, Andrew, I want to pose that same question to you, but more of what we've seen from Deshaun. And he hasn't had a great game all season long. And as you know, you're his fantasy manager in our league. You've seen, you've been keeping up with him somewhat.
Yeah, he's chilling on the bench.
Right. But in this spot, if they need to beat Baltimore, he no way he could just sit back and be a game manager, right? Does he need to have his first wow game of the year? Or is this Browns team stacked enough for him to, just play turnover-free football, manage the game? Could they still beat a team like Baltimore?
I mean, I think it's going to be a really low-scoring game because we're going up. There's two juggernaut defenses going up against each other. So I mean, honestly, if he's just a game manager and doesn't turn the ball over, there's decent chance they win this game. They're my upset of the week because I think this Browns defense is the best defense in the NFL. That's just my hot take.
And Laraib, we saw this same Browns defense give up 27 points to Lamar Jackson in their first meeting in Cleveland. So what would change if Andrew's prediction was to hold true in this matchup?
Well, I don't think Andrew's right at all. Now, if you're asking me what this Browns team needs to do to win this game is keep the ball away from Lamar Jackson. Now, that's a lot easier said than done when you're playing that Ravens defense, what you think is the number one defense in the league, Lewis. And, the difference between this time and last time is Deshaun Watson is in at quarterback for the Browns, but that really doesn't, change anything for me at all, to be honest. Deshaun Watson or PJ Walker in there, they don't change the game script for me at all. I think Deshaun Watson, like you mentioned, hasn't really had that spectacular performance that he's getting paid to do over there in Cleveland. And what he needs to do is going to be play mistake-free, but we haven't seen him do that all season long. So I think this Ravens team knocks the door out of this Browns team. If Deshaun Watson and this offense can't get anything going, if they keep on giving the ball back to that Ravens offense, and, even if they have to go on those long sustained drives, I think they can still put up another 28-point performance like they did earlier in the season. So I like the Ravens at home 27-17.
The take was so bad, Laraib. They're turning your lights off because they're trying to get you off the stage. I'm going to go ahead. I don't necessarily disagree with you, though, Laraib. I just wanted to say that because it was funny. But I think in this game, the reason I brought up that question to y'all is because in the games that Cleveland has won this season, we have not had a single – this is the reason why you traded for Deshaun Watson game, All he's been is a game manager. He's rushed the ball pretty effectively, which has been, probably the best part for this offense. But you lose a guy like Nick Chubb, and you still have decent weapons on the outside. But at the end of the day, if this team and this roster, which is certainly Super Bowl capable, I believe with the type of defense that it has, if they want to get to that level, Deshaun Watson has to play at least 90% like the Deshaun Watson that we saw in Houston. And against this Baltimore defense, who's been leading the league in pressures and just quarterback disruption in every game they've played, there is no way in my mind that Cleveland can win this game, especially after what we saw happened in Cleveland earlier in the season. They could not stop Lamar Jackson. So you need to see Deshaun Watson have a huge game. I do not think he will against this defense. That's why I like Baltimore in this game. And you know what? I'm going to go with even more lopsided. I'm going 34-3. The Browns are their sons. Andrew, you have an expression on your face. You want to go ahead and explain that?
Okay, come on. Do we remember what happened when the 49ers played the Browns?
What?
The Browns beat them 20-0.
Right. What happened when last time these two teams played each other?
It's a good defense. They're not going to give up. Wait, how many points did you say?
27. No turnovers that game either.
Well, I know, but how many points did you say they're going to give up this game?
34.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I mean, I think this Ravens defense
it's a new team.
will force turnovers this week, and they will have a huge game because they're my fantasy defense. But second off, they've been a great defense all season long.
Well,
and we can agree to disagree.
Or you can't overlook. Oh, my bad.
No.
Go ahead.
What I want to ask you, Andrew, is because eventually Deshaun Watson has to do something. It can't all be the defense, especially against the elite teams in the AFC. Do you agree?
I mean, yeah, I do agree.
So,
I think that him not getting massages is really messing up his game. I think they should just give him at least one or two massages just to see how he plays in the next game. If it doesn't work out
for this role.
Wait, what's up?
Do you volunteer as tribute for said?
No, probably.
Does it have
I
to
don't
be
know
a
if I
female
trust him
Is there a
masseuse?
to be a
certain
female
demographic that
massage.
you're looking for?
All right, Laraib.
All right, yeah, let's move on.
Well, I got something for Andrew because he's kind of contradicting himself here. He's talking
What do
about
you
how
mean?
both these defenses are juggernauts, but then how do you expect the Browns to win when you were saying that you don't even want to start Deshaun Watson because he's playing so bad this year? How are the
Yeah, in
Browns going to score
fantasy,
points?
because I've got the rookie of the year, CJ Stroud, starting for me, Nathan.
Still, you don't trust. You think the Browns
What
are
do you
going to
mean
win, but
still?
they don't have the offense to win.
Numbers don't lie.
And we
CJ
know
Stroud-
And what happened the
fantasy.
last time the Browns and Ravens played?
All right, well,
Yeah,
Deshaun
Lamar didn't
Watson
even
wasn't
have a
playing.
good fantasy performance. Fantasy always doesn't necessarily, relate to on the field play necessarily. But I do like your point there in calling Andrew out on his business. So good job with that one. But let's go ahead and move on to our next game, 3:00 game. Another one of the better games of the slate. We have the Detroit Lions traveling to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Detroit is favored by 3 on the road. Lions coming off a bye week. Chargers coming off a short week, Monday Night Football, in which they dominated the New York Jets. Andrew, I want to ask you, we've seen Justin Herbert kind of up and down all season long, and he honestly did not play that good of a game against the Jets last week, but they still won in dominant fashion. What do the Chargers have to do in this game? Can they replicate anything from that Monday Night Football game that didn't relate to Justin Herbert if they want to beat? What can they take away from that game to implement into this Detroit matchup, which is another, really good defense?
Yeah, with this Detroit matchup, I mean, you can't forget that it's Golf Sember. So, I mean, I think the Lions are going to be pretty good this month. But
Did you say Sember?
Golf Sember?
Yeah, it's November.
Ooh.
Oh, Golf Vember.
Okay.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're
Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yes. Justin Herbert, he's actually going to have a pretty good game, but in classic Justin Herbert fashion, he's going to lose the game for his team.
So I'm going to stop
just
you
because
right
he
there.
doesn't know how to close games.
I'm going to stop you right there. This Lions team is about to get a taste of what it's like to play against a dominant AFC team. Of course, NFC is a bunch of bottom feeders this year, but the AFC is always feasting on itself, and now they're going to get
like Kansas City, Laraib?
They're going to go into the Lions den and face Justin Herbert, who's
I'm
always
sure you'd
just
love to
so
get a taste of
erect
Justin Herbert,
in the
Laraib.
pocket, always standing tall in the pocket. His pocket presence, his pocket awareness, his movement and ability, just the way he stands, his aura, his ability to distribute the ball. I mean, he's just on a different level. Now,
all right, let's calm down.
The difference in this game, of course, is going to be that Chargers defense, which we saw on Monday Night Football. 2.5 sacks from Bosa, 2.5 sacks from Mack, and 2.5 sacks from my boy Tooley. And so now in this one against a Lions team, coming off a bye, looks like David Montgomery is also going to be back for this one. And we know this Lions team's strength is passing the ball, and they're going to be able to exploit that Chargers secondary. I'm expecting a huge offensive showing from both teams. But in this one, I like the better quarterback, running back duo in Herbert Eckler. Give me the Chargers at home, 33-30.
Nathan, are you a bigger believer in Goff Vember or Herbert Vember?
Well, definitely Jared Goff, because I can't get behind that glaze fest that I just witnessed. No, but if we're looking at the numbers here, this Lions team as a whole is just much more well put together. They got the number 2 ranked offense, and their defense is pretty good. I mean, they got a good pass defense, and that's what the Chargers are going to try to do.
Except when they gave up 30 points to the Ravens 2 weeks ago.
We're talking about the Ravens, the juggernauts. Let's forget that. Anyways, I'm agreeing with Andrew for once, and I'm going to go with the Lions for this game.
Yeah, Nathan, I am also going to agree with you, but it's because it's not Herbert who's the fraud this time. It's this Chargers defense. And you like to bring up the sack numbers, Laraib. Well, in 2 games this year, they've put up 8+ sacks. That's spectacular. Then explain how in 4 games this year, they've put up 0 sacks. So it's really what Chargers defense is going to show up today. And you mentioned guys, Tui Tuipulotu, who had a really good showing in that New York Jets game. Is he going to show up in this one? Khalil Mack, he's had 10 sacks almost in 3 games combined. The rest of the games, 0 sacks. And against this Lions offensive line, I just don't think we're going to have the Chargers pass rush day. And without that pass rush, they're not going to be able to get to Goff at all. But I don't even think they'll have the chance to get to Goff because their rush defense is so bad that they won't be able to tee off against Goff like they would because they have to respect the run. Like you mentioned, David Montgomery is back for the Lions this week. So expect him to have a standout performance in this one. And we saw maybe a Jahmyr Gibbs renaissance in the last game. So he might get some more run. I think they run the ball very well in this game. It's going to be a bit lower scoring, but Herbert with a shaky offensive line, Lions, one of the leaders in pass rushes per or pressure rate throughout the entire NFL. I think they disturb Herb and they get the dub. I'm going Lions on the road, 24 to Chargers 20 in this ball game. You want to retort that, Laraib?
I'll let Justin Herbert speak for himself. His aura is going to be diffy this weekend. Everyone, make sure you tune in for that game against the fraudulent Lions.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and go all the way to Monday Night Football for our last highlighted game of the section. We have the Denver Broncos traveling to Buffalo to face the reeling Buffalo Bills. Bills still favored by 7 in this game. Now, Andrew, as a former Sean Payton fan, it's not easy just to insert a new coach into a system and say, go get us a playoff berth, go win us all these games, go fix all the problems that we've had for the past 10 years or ever since the 2015 Super Bowl. But Sean Payton, after a rough start to the year, 2 wins in a row, including a tough win against Kansas City, now coming off a bye week to go play at Buffalo. What have you thought of Sean Payton's performance so far this season? And do you think that will change people's minds during this game?
Well, I mean, I've always thought of Sean Payton as an offensive coach, not really a defensive coach. And the Broncos defense is horrendous. They're one of the worst I've ever seen. They did have a good game. They did have a good game against the Chiefs. And
right.
who was the other team?
They had the Packers.
Oh, the Packers. Well, that doesn't really mean anything.
True.
But I think that this Bills and Broncos game is going to get ugly. I think that the Bills beat them by 50 or 16.
Really? Okay. Nathan, as a huge Josh Allen glazer, what do you think about the Bills' offensive struggles the past few weeks? Because, we've seen Josh Allen go up and down in games. He'll have these great superhuman games, but then all of a sudden he'll just have a stinker out of nowhere. And everyone's just left scratching their heads like, I don't know what just happened. What do you expect from him against, yes, this is a Broncos defense that did give up 70 points in a game. But since that game is only allowed 17 points per game, do you expect him to have a big performance, Nathan?
I expect him to if the Bills want to make a playoff run this year, because they've fallen to the bottom of their conference, I think, or their division, I mean. Losing like 3 of their last 5 games or something like that.
Yeah, they're second place, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyways, I don't think we're gonna get enough out of this Broncos offense, which we really just haven't talked about. I mean, Russell Wilson's been playing pretty good the past few games, but I still see him as a fraud ever since he got to the Broncos. Mr. Unlimited, he's pretty limited, I'd say.
Wow.
But no, I think you were saying that Josh Allen's been playing as a stinker the last few games. I think he's just getting that out of his system. And he's gearing up for a big run here, and he's going to have a statement game against the Broncos.
All right, Laraib, you seem to disagree with what Nathan's been saying as you've been angrily staring at him during this comments. Care to comment?
Yeah, I think Josh Allen is just the biggest enigma in football, to be honest.
Whoa.
This guy is like a roller coaster going
what?
up and down. And I think this Broncos team coming off a bye, they let the Chiefs only score 9 points against them. Now, this Bills team, like we talked about throughout this whole season, Lewis, they've been reeling the past couple of weeks. And I think this is a great spot for the Broncos. If they want to keep their playoffs hopes alive, this is a perfect opportunity on Monday Night Football. You have an extra week of extra day of rest plus the bye week. I think this Bills team is starting to slowly fall apart at the seams. And for this Broncos team to come in, we know they have the weapons. Like Nathan mentioned, Russell Wilson, not playing too bad this season, and they have the weapons with Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. I think they'll go out there and they come out with a statement victory and a win over there in Buffalo.
Laraib, I really don't hate that because I think the Denver Broncos are pretty underrated at this point in the season. I've always respected Sean. Of course, I'm still a little bitter after the departure from New Orleans, but, we got Brian Brzee from him, so I'll take a win-win. But I think what Sean is doing and what he's been trying to figure out is Russell Wilson, the enigma, like you stated, in this game. And what I think he's trying to do is kind of like the Jameis Winston project, is he sees the talent, I guess you could say, with Russell Wilson, who's lost a little bit of his athleticism, and he's trying to say, how can I get the most efficient brand of football out of you? And that's by running the ball. They've been a lot more successful running the ball in the past few weeks with guys like Jaleel McLaughlin. Javonte Williams has been playing a lot better. Samaje Perine. And you see him trying to get that side of the ball set up so it's easier on Russell Wilson, because what was Russell Wilson the most successful at with Pete Carroll was having a strong run game a la Marshawn Lynch. So he's trying to find that balance. And this Buffalo offense has been reeling the past few weeks, scoring about 18 points per game. And the only game they scored 20 since they went and lost to the Jaguars in London was when they scored 25 in a loss against the woe-begotten Patriots. So this is a Bills team that really needs to get their stuff together. I think this is going to be a really close game. It's hard to pick against the Bills in this spot because they are the more desperate team in this situation. So give me the Bills. I just think they need this one, whereas Denver, my heart is saying Denver, but my brain is saying keep it smart. Go with Buffalo in this game. Get a win against Laraib. So I'll take all of them that I can get. And I'm going with the Bills in this matchup, 31-24 in this game. So those are our highlighted games of the week. Now, gentlemen, I'll go through you one by one and for each of the rest remaining games. And you just tell me your score and any quick thoughts you might have on the contest. So I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Laraib. Get us started here with, when my computer loads, with the Colts traveling to the Patriots in Germany.
Yeah, another Germany game, but I think this Patriots team, Lewis, has mentally checked out. At the bottom of their division, only 2-7 halfway through the season. I think their season is completely done. Looks like they might be tanking for a draft pick. And this Colts team, we saw their defense have 2 pick sixes against Bryce Young. I think they go over there in Germany and pull out a win, 23-20.
All right. And next game up, Nathan, this is a game that you've been talking to me all year about, that you're so excited for. It is the Green Bay Packers traveling to the sneaky Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers favored by 3.5 points in this game. Who do you like?
It's an easy pick for me. I'm going with the Steelers. Packers, I mean, it's the home game for the Steelers. They've been playing decently well. Packers just can't find themselves. So score here, I'd say Pittsburgh Steelers 28, Green Bay Packers 10.
All right, Andrew. Will the Thrill Levis making his third start in the NFL, traveling to Tampa. A sneaky, exciting game. Tampa favored by 1 in this matchup. Do you believe in Will the Thrill?
I believe in Will the Thrill Levis. Ever since Morgan Wallen stole his girl, he's been on a revenge tour. Look, he might have hit a bump in the road against the Steelers, but in this game, they're going to end up beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 14 points. And DeAndre Hopkins is going to have 2 touchdowns.
All right, sneaky. Shout out Morgan freaking Wallen. Couldn't, show up with his sore throat. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it right now. Let's go ahead and move on to our next game. We're going to keep it with you, Laraib. The Atlanta Falcons traveling to the Arizona desert to face the Cardinals. Atlanta favored only by 2 in this matchup. What am I missing, Laraib?
Well, Kyler Murray is back from injury. Too bad this Cardinals team is 1-8 and they're tanking for a draft pick. And so I really like the Falcons this one. I think if they want to continue in that NFC playoff race, if they want to still win their division, it's going to be through this game. I mean, Arthur Smith, buddy, you just got to hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson and go home with the win. It's really going to be that simple. But if he deviates from that game plan, it will be a loss for them. But I think the Falcons figure it out against the Cardinals. Kyler Murray in his first game back, I think he might be just a little bit slow to start. And of course, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is coming out this weekend. And so we know Kyler Murray is not watching any film in this one. So give me the Falcons 23-17.
All right.
Might be playing Ark too.
I doubt it. Let's go ahead and move on to our next game. I'm going to go straight to you, Andrew, for this one because it does involve your favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Giants. Dallas favored by a whopping 17 points at home. Easy W, Andrew?
Yeah, it's an easy W, but I don't think it's going to be a bloodbath like it was before. I think that I don't think that the Cowboys are going to cover. Honestly, I see it being a 14-point game instead of a 17.
You see a big game out of Daniel Jones in this one, Andrew?
Oh, absolutely not. But I mean, I just see
okay, good.
them getting some garbage time points.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is out for the season with an ACL, so you're expecting a big game from Tommy DeVito in this one.
I'm not expecting a big game out of anybody. They could just get some garbage time points.
All right. Well, I was saving this next one for a good reason. Nathan, the Washington Commanders, a place where you were very familiar with. You've been to some of the Washington games, not the Commanders, but you've been around. Going to Seattle to face your Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks here by 6.5. That's a ton of points, Nathan. At home, coming off a win. Seahawks coming off their worst loss of the season. Why is it such a big disparity?
It's because the Seahawks team, they're frauds.
Whoa!
They're frauds. If you look at their wins, they've just gotten like easy pickings, just bottom of the barrel teams. And
because DK Metcalf's a horrible receiver.
I don't know about that, Ward, but the Seahawks team, I don't trust them yet. If they can pull off a win with this game, then I might trust them a little bit more. But this Commanders team, despite being 4-5, they're not that bad of a team. So going into Seattle, I think this is going to be a pretty close game. But I'm going to have to go with the Commanders in this one because I just don't trust my Seahawks enough yet.
Nathan, who is the Commanders' starting quarterback?
He's on my fantasy team.
Yes.
His name. Pull it up.
His name is. Give me a second.
His name is Sam Howell.
It's Sam Howell.
Sam Howell. For passing yards, by the way. And I think he has an opportunity to come into Seattle and light up this Seahawks secondary. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think the Seahawks team gets back on track. They've really struggled, Lewis, in the pass blocking. We saw that against the Ravens. They were in Geno Smith's face in, under 1 second. But in this one, when they trade away Chase Young, when they trade away Montez Sweat, it's really all on Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. And I don't think they get the job done in this one. I like the Seahawks to really ground and pound the ball with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, keep the ball out of Sam Howell's hands and come away with the dub. Because, this is going to be a big week. We had this division lead last week, but after that loss, we give it right back to the 49ers. So if you want to regain that lead, it's going to be through games like this where we're at home against an inferior opponent. And I think there's a must win for the Seahawks. So give me the Seahawks 27-20.
All right. And then, Andrew, I'll hand it off to you for our final game of the slate. The New York Jets traveling to Las Vegas to face the rejuvenated Las Vegas Raiders with interim head coach Antonio Pierce. Jets favored by 1 in this game on the road. Is Antonio Pierce going to go to 2-0, Andrew?
No, I don't think so. I think that Jets defense is just going to carry him to a win. I really have no faith in Zach Wilson, but that Jets defense is good enough that they can take care of business against the Raiders.
All right. Any other comments, Nathan, Laraib, big Jet fans?
Personally, I'm riding with the Raiders in this one.
Boo!
We saw what they did, how rejuvenated that team is, like you mentioned, Lewis. Now they're facing Zach Wilson, who were having questions. Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, is saying, well, it's not in my hands to bench Zach Wilson or not. So a lot of questions over there in that locker room. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is always going to have the spotlight on him, no matter if he's playing or not. But I really like this Raiders team at home. Mad Max, Max Crosby. Someone get that guy the Edward pass already. I mean, he's playing out of his mind at this point. He's rejuvenated the city of Las Vegas. And I think the Raiders at home, we know players love to play for those interim head coaches. I think the Raiders win 20-17.
All right, well, that'll do it for the entire slate of games. But before we go, we have our locks, upsets, and best bets of the week. I'll start with you, Laraib. Who is your lock of the week?
It has to be Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Shiesty. They just been on fire, facing a Texans team who we know don't play well on the road. Giving the Bengals at home.
Nathan?
My lock for this week is the Lions.
All right, and Andrew?
My lock is the 49ers against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, and I said it. I believe in the Baltimore Ravens as my lock. It's just a great matchup for them. They own the Cleveland Browns, literally. As we move on, Andrew, I'll start with you. Upsets of the week. Who you got?
Ooh, it's going to be differing yours. My upset is the Browns over the Ravens. I think they're going to get it done.
Well take.
Okay, Nathan?
I'm going with the Commanders. I know I'm playing devil's advocate here. I really want the Seahawks to win this game, but so don't get me wrong. I'm still a Seahawks fan, but I just got to play devil's advocate.
Sure. Laraib?
I'm going with the Denver Broncos. Even though they're on the road, we see this Bills team slowly reeling every week. I think the Broncos come up big in a huge Monday night win.
All right, and my upset of the week. Laraib, what did I tell you earlier? Because I may have forgotten it.
It was the Chicago Bears, whose game tips off in about 45
correct.
minutes.
It was the Thursday night football game. I have the Carolina Panthers winning tonight in Chicago. In Bryce, we trust. By the time you're hearing this, they will be up 28-0. All right, and best bets of the week, Laraib. I'll let you start us off with this one.
Once again, I'm going with the Denver Broncos. Even if they don't win this game outright against the Bills, I really like them to cover this one. We've seen the Bills, they blew out teams early in the season, but so far they've struggled even in the close ones. So I think Broncos +7 is a good one.
Yeah, and my best bet, I just really like the Vikings at 3, getting 3 points at home against the Saints team that hasn't beaten any team that's decent all year long. I know Josh Dobbs is a mystery, but I think he will put the Saints down in history in this ball game. Any best bets from you, Andrew?
I don't know what Deebo Samuel's line is on yards, but just take the over. Okay. Just take the over.
I'm with you there. Nathan, round us out.
I'm gonna go with the Ravens over the Browns. They're gonna destroy the Browns. Okay. Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry, not sorry. As that will do it for the episode. Thank you guys so much for coming on and doing the episode with us. I'm glad we could finally be able to do this. And we'd like to have you on for the remainder of the season. Come playoff time, some of those reaction videos will be heated. I know that. So we will keep you guys on standby. Anything you guys want to say before you head out? Andrew, I'll start with
Deebo, 19, Samuel.
All right, Nathan?
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Well, I think this is the First and Goal podcast signing off.
Peace.